my first film, I didn't get it in writing, and then the whole thing changed, and they changed the actress, and then I wasn't a part of it, and I didn't know why, and it was a huge fiasco. And I was just like, I should have listened to my dad. My dad was like, just make sure they give it to you in writing, and they just kept saying, come, we'll do the contract, don't worry. But it's something that's really that I've learned, and I've just made sure. However, anal I sound, or however like particular I sound about, I need it in writing, I don't really care, because ultimately you're the one going to be suffering if you don't suffer that initial bit and get your contract done. They literally need this much to make them happy. They just need a hug, they need some food, they need you to dance with them, and they're fine, and that's the simplicity of someone with special needs, like someone with someone who has something wrong with their brain or development or behavior.
No rain.
Hello friends, welcome to the Naren Agarwal show. Today's show is gonna be something that you guys are looking forward to, and here's the reason why. I have somebody super unique on board. She is multi-talented. She is a South Indian film actress. She is an amazing musician, and she's also had some special appearances in movies because of her music, along with her acting. Lastly, she does something out of her heart. She's passionate, and she is a special educator. I cannot wait to bring Miss Madhuri Braganza on board. Madhuri, how are you doing?
Oh, thank you very much, everybody. Hi, Naren. Thank you so much for having me. It's so awesome.
Oh, I'm delighted to begin our conversation.
Yeah, looking forward to this conversation.
So, firstly, how is it different being on this camera versus a camera at the movie sets? How is it different?
Oh, it's very different, because when you're being shot in a film, there are like 200 people on set. Like it's a lot of people, because there are like people in art direction, and then there are people holding reflectors, and there are people for camera, there's people for makeup, there's people for styling, people to put pins on your clothes when it's like, there are just a lot of people, and it's obviously a team effort, right? So, but you have to just, when you look into the camera, you just have to pretend like nobody's there. So that's the difference. Here it's just the two of us, and it's COVID times, and hence social distancing, and nobody's around me right now. But yeah.
Whoa! Yeah. So wait, that is actually crazy when you tell me 200 people around and you're shooting, everybody's looking at you, but you gotta act like nobody's there. How do you do that?
Yeah, especially if it's a scene which has people in the background and stuff, then there's just a lot of people, right? And people are watching you, unless they're in the frame. People are kind of watching you and totally scrutinizing your performance. But you get used to it. I think the first time I shot was just a small. It was a cameo in a Malayalam film, and it was just in an apartment, and there were only about 25 people, and they were prompting me with my lines, and I was, it was all fine. I didn't feel too overwhelmed. But then later on, when you do bigger projects with bigger sets, you kind of tend to, you're like, okay, so wow, like maybe I should just act like these people aren't here. Yeah, so it's fun. It's fun. You kind of get more comfortable in your skin, and you tend to just because if you're constantly being something that you're not, it's a tiring life. And you kind of you just tend to be more authentic, and because you're constantly in the public eye, and then later on if you're on social media, or if you're if you're just walking on the road sometimes, and there's a fan or someone or follower, then they'll come and want to take a picture, and you just need to be able to chill and not be like, oh my god, like, am I being watched? Like, you just have to be careful, but be chill. Like, otherwise it gets a bit. You
get comfortable with being watched and all that attention. As time passes, you get used to it.
You definitely get used to it. Yeah, like you do get a bit wary when it comes to who you're with, and like will this picture, like if somebody takes a picture of me, will it like randomly get released on the internet? Like you think about things like that. I mean, obviously I'm not such a big actor where I'm constantly surrounded by people who know me, but it's like, even when you, like, supposing in Bangalore, right, there's this area called Kurmangla, which has a lot of Malayalis. I don't know why. I should find out why. But every time I go there, I get recognized by a Malayali who's watched my film, or who knows me or follows me on Instagram, and they've come up to me when I have a beer in my hand, and I'm like chilling like at a pub or something, like with friends, and they're like, "Oh, Chechi, or a selfie," and I'm like, "Oh my God, just without a beer," because people tend to have this image of you when they see you on screen, and then
Yes.
yeah, and then like you're nowhere like that in person, and they're like, "Oh my God, my dreams have been destroyed." It's like, who is this person? I do not know her. But yeah, so
That's such an interesting point. Like, imagine if you had this very serene and calm person role, somebody who's very obedient, goes by the rules, and
yeah,
you're caught at a bar or a pub on the
yeah.
streets. It's really a mind shift for the person watching you.
Yeah, it's like a culture shock where they're like, "What? She drinks?" Like,
Uh,
well, no shit, Sherlock. I do, Yeah, so it's just it's you get used to it. Honestly, it develops. You develop this thicker skin. I keep telling everyone this because they're like, how do you deal with all the negative comments? How do you deal with it? How do you? I'm just like, you tend to not give importance to things that don't really matter or shape your career. Like it's fine. The more importance you, or the more attention you give something, the more important it becomes. So yeah, it's fine. It's okay to be yourself, and if people don't accept you for who you are, then good riddance. you know yeah, it's
what you said reminds me of a line. It says, and energy flows where focus goes. So what you focus on, that's where
exactly.
the energy will flow. What you said,
Exactly.
I can truly
Yeah.
resonate with that.
Yeah. Like earlier on, when we were speaking earlier, we were talking about that wheel of life thing. And it
Correct.
talks about how the brain just goes in the direction in which you're doing well already, right? Like if
Correct.
like for me right now, health and fitness is going well. And my brain constantly wants to do that more. And I'm like, hey, let's focus on things that we need to do better at. But yeah, I know what you mean. So
Wow. So, Madhuri, when you're selecting a movie, when you're
yeah.
deciding to go for a movie and accepting a role, what goes
Yeah.
on through your mind? What stuff do you consider before selecting and
Oh
saying yes
yeah.
to a movie? What
Yeah.
does that process look like?
So, actually, that's a very good question because it's like my requirements and what I look at has evolved over time. So, I'll tell you what I used to and what I now consider. So, earlier, I used to consider, okay, like, is the person that I'm acting with someone who is, you know, famous, who will get a lot of views, and who, if I share screen with this person, will I get that traction and stuff like that? Then I used to think about the budget, of course, and thirdly, I used to think about, okay, like, is this a language I know? Can I be comfortable? Things like that. But now, when I get offered a film, I the first thing I look at is the script, because I've seen that whoever's in the film, if it's a good script and if it is a good story that people can relate to, or which is entertaining, then people will watch it. Like through word of mouth, especially now because of online portals and OTT platforms. It's just so common for people to just watch niche films and films that they've just heard about from someone else, so they haven't, it's not advertised all over the place, and it's not like really known faces. So yeah, script is one thing I look at. The second thing is if it's a performance oriented role or not, because then I don't want to just do like this, sugar dumpling, it's a love story, let's run around trees and be happy and make a family, because it just does not do anything for me. Like, because I rather portray, my entire repertoire of what I can do on set or in front of the camera, which is what help like it helps you get your next project. Because if a director can see, okay, she can do this, she can do this, she can do this, then he knows what he's up for, or rather what he's kind of going to be working with, and how directable you are. So that's the second thing. And the third thing is the production banner and who's doing it. Because if it's not a good production team, then there can be a lot of glitches. Like they can go for a cinematographer who's not as who charges less but may not be as good with his work. Also, they can kind of compromise on the stay and the food and things like that you are going to be given on set. And I feel like it's important to be in a good in a good environment, especially being a girl, because it's predominantly male. For some reason, films are just predominantly male, or maybe that's just a population statistic. I don't know. But it's important because the first time that I shot a lead role, I was the only girl on set. There were 100 plus male people. I was the only girl, and I
Wow.
usually go to my sets without anyone. Like some people kind of they go with a parent or with a manager or with someone, but so far I've been going alone. Until I do have a personal manager. Right now, I just have agents that represent me. I don't have a personal manager. So if I do ever reach that point, then I'll have someone with me. But it was really crazy because I had to go to Kerala for the shoot, and when I went there, they were like, "Yeah, okay, so this is going to take about a week and all of that," and I was like, "Yeah," and there was no one who was female, including the costume guy who's going to put my sari for me was a male. I was just like, "Hey, I don't think
Yeah.
any of you have thought this through." And I just spoke to the assistant director, and I was like, because I was a bit freaked out at first, but also it was just me being apprehensive and kind of aware because I'm very professional on set, and I don't because I go alone. I'm there for the work and absolutely nothing else, and I want to make that known to everyone. So I spoke to the assistant director and I said, can there are absolutely no females, and I think it's important for me to kind of have someone of the same gender. And then is when it hit them. They didn't hit them till then,
That is crazy.
and and then they were like, "Oh my god, we're so sorry." And like the next day there were like 8 women on set. Like 2 were helping with hair, and one or two were helping with costumes, and a couple of them were helping me with my dance moves. And so it does make a huge difference if you just kind of you're with a good team, a professional team, and also someone who you can kind of communicate with, and who'll take that constructive criticism. Some people, usually when it's an actor who says something, they do take it seriously, but when the team is just treating everyone nicely, I think it makes a huge difference. So these are the 3 things that I kind of look at now. Yeah, which is very important.
That's a pretty cool. I would say evolution, and I can see,
Yeah,
like, you can almost capture your own growth when you answer that
yeah,
question, and
yeah,
that's pretty
definitely.
awesome. That's pretty awesome. I got to learn something out of it. Why
Yeah.
do you think is the film industry, in general, I would say even Bollywood and other film industries in India, why are they so male dominant? And what do you think are the pros and cons of that? How can we evolve that and make it more inclusive?
I think I've thought about this before a long time ago, and I felt like maybe women find that there's so many men around that they find it uncomfortable. That is one thing that I thought about, and hence there are even less women that actually apply for these jobs. But at the same time, I feel like it also may be something to do with timings of shoot schedules and things like that. Like it's difficult for a girl to travel all by herself to work and back, when it's in the night, if it's a night shoot, things like that. Also, when it comes to lifting equipment and climbing up on things and tying things here and there, it's just usually males who are kind of doing these things. A lot of construction work, and there are, like, when you look at building construction, I'm sure the sort of male female ratio is pretty
Yes,
equal.
yes.
But when it comes to films, that's a very valid point. I don't see why it should be male dominant, but it just is, because I feel like each person will call a friend, or each person will call their troop, and kind of just
Correct.
it kind of snowballs. And also I feel directors wise and cinematographer wise, I just hardly know any female cinematographers and directors. It's just something to really think about, maybe, and find out why. Because when it comes to female writers, they also try to make, like, there are some troops which are female dominant. Like I've done a couple of ads, and yeah, I've forgotten the name, but good production houses which are female oriented, predominantly female, and they make some really cool stuff. So,
I
and just
bet.
the other day I was reading this article about how all the countries who are kind of headed by women have the least COVID cases, and they know how to, like,
Uh,
keep stuff at bay. But yeah, maybe we should start this campaign, like, a Naren and Madhuri campaign, where we're like, "Hey, where them women at?"
yeah.
But
Because
yeah, I wonder. I really wonder. Yeah,
I feel like, if there's more women in the film industry, we hear more stories about them, and
yeah,
the way a woman looks at the world is very different. Like you said, we were in a set and there was no women, and the
yeah,
guys never thought about that. And I think that
Yeah,
could bring us so much more value in the stories we're showing to our societies through
for
films.
sure.
Um,
For sure.
yeah,
And it's also even, when you think about the fact that in a film, the female actor is such a huge part of it. Like they'll promote the film with the actress's name, or like it just becomes like everybody wants to know, so who's the woman in it, or like who's the actress in it. And that way, acting wise, I think women do have a big role to play. But when it comes to actually making a film, I really wish that we could have more women.
yeah,
But yeah,
that's
it's
pretty
just the
cool.
thing. Maybe it's an Indian thing. I don't know. I'm not
Yeah,
sure. We should check. We should find out. I don't
yeah.
want to create any, biases. But yeah, good
Wow.
question.
So, Madhuri, I know being in the South Indian film industry, there's multiple languages, mainly four languages at play. How many languages do you know? How many languages do you speak? Um, tell us a
Um,
little bit about that.
so I have grown up without a mother tongue, and I'm like, I hate that term because everyone when I grow up, they're like, "So what's a mother tongue?" And I'm like, "So does this mean the language I'm supposed to speak, or the language that my mother speaks, or my father speaks? Is it a father tongue? Like what?" So I'm just like, yeah, I speak English at home, but my mother tongue is supposed to be Konkani or something. I think I don't know because I'm like an amalgamation of a lot. Like I'm half
Wow.
Mangalorean and I'm half Goan. Actually, small percentage Goan and a little bit like there are ancestors from all over the place.
Wow.
But at home we speak English. So for the last like every I mean for my whole life I've spoken English at home. So but luckily in school I did second language Kannada and third language Hindi. So I know how to read and write both those languages properly.
Wow.
But my speaking with Hindi isn't very good because we never speak it in Bangalore. Like we literally never need to.
Correct.
Excuse me. Like with when it comes to public transport, we speak in Kannada. When it comes to say our help at home, I speak Kannada. Sometimes Tamil. I don't know, for some reason I know Tamil as well. I think because my close friends are Tamilian. My aunt is Tamilian. My cook is Tamilian. I just know a lot of Tamilian
That's
people.
pretty cool.
And yeah, I've just learned the language of like. It's weird that I started with Malayalam cinema when I know Tamil so much better. But and then Malayalam came after Tamil because you have similar nuances in both the languages. Um, so I picked up Malayalam, but I have to practice Malayalam. It's a really difficult language. Sorry to all the Malayalis who are listening, but it's true. It's a tough language. It's a lot like Sanskrit, and it's a lot of rolling of the tongue. When I'm in Kerala, people speak it and I just learn it and I just speak it, because nobody is speaking in English. But here it's just no, I'm not practicing it at all. Like tonight I need to go live and I need to speak some, so I need to brush up and be like, okay, yeah. And
That
then
is
Telugu I don't really know,
crazy.
but yeah. So basically English, Tamil, Kannada, Malayalam a little bit, Hindi a little bit, Telugu a few lines. French I learned in 11th and 12th grade, but not, I don't know how to speak it.
You,
I still
you
look for
sound
that.
like a genius, dude. That
No,
is absolutely
it's
crazy.
part of the job. So yeah, you tend to kind
Whoa.
of.
That's a tough job to have then. Wow.
Yeah, it works with languages. Kind of work with a different part of your brain. So it's nice to learn. Like I have a friend, a close friend of mine, who's just learning German right now online, and another friend who's learning Japanese and who's moving to Japan. And it's pretty cool how global things are becoming. So yeah,
So talking about brain health and brain functioning, when you're
yeah,
on set, you got to
yeah,
remember a lot of lines. One, you got to work on languages. The second thing is memorization. So
yeah,
what stuff do you do to memorize better? Because I bet it can be very irritating if the actor keeps forgetting the lines for
yeah,
everybody who's waiting and shooting.
yeah.
What do you do to memorize stuff?
Okay, so first of all, I love things like Sudoku and I like crosswords and I like, these online games. I like things that kind of challenge your brain a little bit, and I do them on and off whenever I have time, like before going to bed or. And I actually have a feeling that that does help my memory because my memory never used to be that good, but it's become a little better. So, and also I think when you practice, because I've done a lot of TV commercials and things like that. So when you practice scripts, you have to do it in different ways, like two or three different renditions of the same lines. So you have to really know your lines at the tip of your fingers, like at the back of your palm, or whatever that phrase is. Like it just, you need to know it so well that you can do it with different expressions each time. And I think practicing learning dialogues has helped me with my memory a lot. Like I do need to be prompted sometimes, to be honest, on set, because I rather not be like, oh, how does that line start? And then, when you're thinking, you can tell if you look at an actor, you can tell if they're thinking about the line or what they have to say, or if they're actually in the situation and they're being impulsive and reacting, and you can tell the difference, right, on their face. So I do need prompters sometimes, and because I don't want to compromise on my performance. So if I have a prompter who just starts the line for me, then I'm fine. So because I go through the script, I remember the first film that I was supposed to do, which was called Joseph, which didn't. I mean, sorry, not Joseph, which was called Charlie. I don't know why I said Joseph. Joseph happened, guys. It was really good. But Charlie was a film that I was supposed to do alongside Dulquer Salman, who is this superstar Malayalam actor, and he had not come to set yet, and I was supposed to start shooting for them, and I was learning dialogues, and this was the first time that I was actually learning Malayalam dialogues, and I had a proper translator with me, and we would just sit in my hotel room and we would just learn for hours, and it got tiring to a point where I like, even before going to bed, I'd like feel like writing it down on my pillow, and like, just like
Oh
I
God.
literally, because it was so hard. And then I realized later it's better to do your dialogues each scene at a time, or like each, say, half a day at a time, instead of by hearting the whole day's dialogues. And then like in the morning you have so much shit in your head, and you're like, okay, right now I just need to remember like the first three lines, so let's master that. So now I've started doing that. Like I just learn the first few scenes of the day, and I'm fine. Like I don't want to stress myself out. Especially because you'll like, sometimes it's so funny because yeah, I'm sure you wouldn't have heard somebody explain this to you, but like sometimes I'll know the line really well. I'll practice it and I'll say it, and the director will be like, okay, can you change this part, can you just say this part a little softer, or can you just like move your head when you say this, blah blah blah. So then finally they'll get the perfect take after like 3 or 4 takes. Maybe they'll get a perfect take, and in that perfect take, like a cow or something would have walked in the background. Okay? I'd be like, dude, just only in India. Like you would have just, it would have been the best take of your life, and some coconut will fall, or something, some reflector will fall, or some water will be leaking somewhere. Yes, like it just happens, and then you're like, okay, it's fine. This is just the nature of the business, and you have to be okay with things like that. So now I'm just like, yeah, okay, I'll read the line, tell me the line, okay, let's do the line, and then you know that you have a couple of chances to
Wow.
master your line. So I don't stress out too much about memorizing my lines. I'm like, yeah,
That's
yeah.
hilarious. What's the longest number of retakes you've ever had to do? Like, does it get irritating a lot when it comes to retakes? Like again and again, trying to put that
Yeah,
emotion again
yeah.
and again.
It
Tell us
happens.
a
It
little bit about
happens.
that journey.
Yeah, that can be really frustrating. So I usually, touch wood, I've not had too many experiences where I've had like a crazy number of retakes. I what I do is I understand the situation around the scene and my relationship with the people who I'm sharing that screen space with, and then you kind of, when you know the mannerisms and when you know the relationship involved, then you're fine. Whether the line comes out right or not, it's fine. So that way, 2 3 takes has been like a maximum. But there was this one time in when I was shooting in China, okay, for a song, and I am not the world's greatest dancer. Let's just put it lightly there. So I was like practicing this dance move and I wasn't getting it, and they did like a few takes, and then they were like, fine, let's just shoot something else and come back to that. Then we went to the other part where I had to lip sync with the song that's playing, and I had to do this like just this movement walking towards my son, and it took 13 takes,
Oh,
and I don't know why. I really don't know why, because what happened was, like, I was getting a different input from the co-actor, I was getting a different input from the director, and I was getting a different input from the cinematographer. Like the cinematographer was like, I need you to show me this angle is looking better. The director's like, I need you to walk like this and do this, and the actor's like, this should be on your face. So when you're doing it, you're like, whoa, whoa, I have to remember so many things, and it's just like
it's like
it gets
juggling.
confusing, right? So after a point, like after the 12th, so 11th take or something, I went to the director and I was like, listen, I got a bit annoyed. Okay, I'm like, listen, I honestly do not know what you want. Like,
Yeah.
tell me what you want, and I don't want anybody else to tell me anything. So I told the cinematographer, you move your camera according to the angles. I am not moving my body. And like, it was quite a diva moment where I was like, I'm just gonna do it my own way. And like, yeah, and then I told my co-actor as well. I was like, please let me just, do it the way the director wants it, and you can discuss with the director. And finally, like on the 13th take, they got it, and I was like,
Wow.
thank God. Yeah.
I
It's
bet that's
important that
emotionally
too many
exhausting.
too many cooks spoil the broth, right? You should just, if it's just the director and the assistant director, that's more than enough. I feel, to kind of know what you have to do, because that's what ultimately matters, right? What translates
Yeah.
on screen is what the director wants. So yeah,
I believe you. It's like so tough to bring up that emotion again and again, that expression again and again, and
yeah.
after a while, it
Sometimes
starts getting fading. It starts fading
exactly
away.
fading. Exactly. Sometimes you just need to stop that scene and do another scene, to come back and get it right. Because you just like go deeper and deeper into the wrong direction, and you're like, I need to take a U-turn and just start again. Yeah. So that's yeah. You brought back some memories there.
Well,
Yeah.
where all have you shot, and which has been your favorite location of shooting so far?
I haven't gone to like too many places. But I think China would definitely come under, because it was very different, you know, like it was it was intriguing to see how Indians and Chinese, like first of all Malayalis. So Malayalam is like the Indians' hardest language, and Mandarin is like the world's hardest language. So it's like two of these people communicating with each other, and it's just like, oh my god! And that one middle person who needs to know like Mandarin and Malayalam, I'm like, you are a godsend, my friend, you. And it's just like it gets super fun to watch this as an actor. You're like, so there's a choreography going on, and the like Chinese kids and the Indian kids, and like both have to listen to different choreographers, and those choreographers have to listen to each other and say the same thing. Oh, good lord! So that way, it was very cool to watch. But Chinese people are so efficient, like so efficient. They, before the scene, like 20 minutes before the scene, they already know the steps. I'm like, how did that happen?
Wow.
We would have just told the choreographer, and the choreographer just learn it, and she quickly teach them, and they're done. No wonder everything that we use is made in China. Just super efficient people. And we shot in this like very, it was like a film city kind of a place, in the outskirts of Shanghai, and it was beautiful. It was really beautiful, and the weather was
Wow.
like slightly drizzly and cloudy, and it was really nice. And the food, oh, I love Chinese food, like authentic Chinese food.
Oh,
So I had the
that's
best time during that shoot. It was with the superstar Mohanlal. So I
okay.
shot with him, and yeah, it was awesome. Yeah.
That's amazing. That's amazing. With acting, I got a question. When you go on set, how do you maintain professionalism? What are some stuff that you do? I want you to hit back upon it. And also, stuff like, controversial stuff that we hear about the industry, like casting couch, etc. Does that
Yeah.
exist? Is that true for the South Indian movie industry or not? What's your experience of that, and directors taking advantage of actresses? Have you seen such things happen?
Yeah. Yeah. So when it comes to professionalism, um, one thing that I've learned is everything has to be in writing. Everything. From like when your advance payments happen, when your completion of your payments happen, when the project starts, when the project ends, which are the days are we're shooting, which what role you're playing, like everything has to be written down, you know, on a proper contract. Because for my first film, I didn't get it in writing, and then the whole thing changed, and they changed the actress, and then I wasn't a part of it, and I didn't know why, and it was a huge fiasco. And I was just like, I should have listened to my dad. My dad was like, just make sure they give it to you in writing, and they just kept saying, come, we'll do the contract, don't worry. But it's something that's really that I've learned, and I've just made sure. However, anal I sound, or however like particular I sound about, oh, I need it in writing, I don't really care, because ultimately you're the one going to be suffering if you don't suffer that initial bit and get your contract done. So that's one thing about professionalism. The second thing is, like I was saying, you just have to, like, I make sure that I'm very curt, not curt, but like very direct with what I want on set and how I'm treated, and like the women on set and things like that. And just I need to be comfortable to be able to act well, to be able to perform well. If you're not comfortable, it's going to show on your face. So yeah, that another thing about professionalism, I think when you're a woman, uh, everyone looks at you as some kind of eye candy, or like some kind of like she's, oh, and then like getting your makeup done, and like if it's in a public place, if you're shooting on the road, for example, they'll just create this canopy and just do your makeup right there, right? Because we have to move from one place to the other, so then a lot of people kind of stare and this and that. So to be professional, I think it's important to tell people, okay, listen, this is like my space, and just make sure that nobody enters this area, and like, because it can get a bit too like too personal when people are like just coming and randomly taking selfies, especially when you're eating, if there's a break between
Right.
sets, and people just come and they just constantly want pictures, and you're just like, I want to just eat and relax and think about my next scene. So I think it a lot of how a film turns out is how the mindset of the actors and the director and everyone is. Like the final product, you will know that it was a good team if it's a good film. And if it's a shitty film, you're going to know that it was a shit show, even backstage or behind the scenes. So that's that. When it comes to casting couch, 100% it does exist. I have got calls, I've got messages, I've got people saying, we will offer you this much payment for this role, and as long as you're willing to compromise and all this rubbish. And I'm like, I'll just act like I don't know what they're talking about. I'll be, what do you mean by compromise? Pray tell, please. And then they'll be like, no, you know how it is, right? Like the producer will want one night or this. And I'm just like, don't ever contact me again, ever, because they need to know how against it you are, not that you're just against it. And
Yes.
for one, I'm crazy against it. I'm just like, dude, this, like, acting and this work that I do is just one of my jobs, and it's not something that I'm doing for anything else. It's work. I'm adding value to your set. You are adding value to my resume, and this is work. And ultimately, this project is going to be ours, and we're a team, and this is work. And my special education and my other things that I do is work. So you can't look at it as anything else. And people tend to find that a bit like, okay, why is she being so professional? Why is she being so uptight? But like, that's the only way to go about it. Because
More
I
power
want,
to you.
yeah,
Yes.
thanks, man. Because like the minute you relax about these things, word can get around like that, and people think absolutely like, from Chinese whispers, from, oh yeah, she doesn't want to contact, it'll go to, oh yeah, she's chill, and from chill it'll go to another Chinese whisper, and then it'll become, yeah, yeah, she'll do anything, man, it's chill, and then from do anything it'll become, yeah, yeah, she'll compromise. So you don't know where people are connecting what. So it's just really important to be professional, I would say. And sometimes I've lost jobs, I've lost roles because I've said no. And I've and it's fine, I've lost a lot of money which could have been mine, but for what? Like, I literally sound like I'm selling my body, or like selling, you know and as soon as they talk about something like that, I'm out. Like, I'm just like, call you later or never. So yeah, and they kind of know that. And the worst part, Naren, is like, on social media and stuff, if I'm at the gym, or if I'm at a jog, or if I'm just chilling at a party, and I'm wearing something short or something, men almost look at it as an invitation to, she's fine with anything. I don't know where the connect is,
Correct.
because it's just bizarre to me. But it is something that is there, and I feel like whatever I wear does not give you any kind of allowance, or like any kind of permission to do anything with me. So it's like blaming the victim when it comes to a rape case, right? Like, oh, what
Correct.
was she wearing? Like, please, okay. Like,
That's
even
not
if
part of the
she
question.
yeah, even if she
Yeah.
was wearing a burqa, she would have been raped. So, like, just
Correct.
please
Correct.
don't give me that shit. So yeah, that's one thing. Like, in fact, recently I got an email from a fan saying, can I have one night with you, and this and that, I will provide you with comfortable stay, and blah blah. I'm just like, what has to be in your mind for you to have the guts to send me this, like, or for you to have the, like, confidence
Oh
to
God.
think
Yeah.
it's okay. And I shared it on my Instagram story, and everyone was just like,
Oh.
"Dude, are you kidding?" Like everyone was just like, "What?" And they're like, "Dude, report him, block him, blah blah blah." And then obviously I've tried doing these things, but he's using a fake ID and this and that. And I will, at one point of time, I will, like, I've taken screenshots of all these things and I've put down all my psycho list, I called it. and and all these people are going to face the music sooner or later. Maybe I need to be a bigger deal for when I get these things done. But it's really crazy that how people think it's okay, especially after the whole Me Too movement. I don't know how people think it's okay. Like, it's quite freaky. It's quite freaky. But as long as you kind of draw, there are no blurred lines and there are no gray areas, and people know, okay, this is what she is in it for. She's not going to do this. Even when it comes to like intimate scenes, right? To shoot intimate scenes, like, or if they want you to wear something that you're not comfortable with, just say it. And women are so scared that they lose the role or they lose this or they lose that. I'm just like, if they really want you, they will use you. They will use you for the role. You don't have to be scared about it. Just be confident that they really want you, and they'll compromise. You don't need to compromise, but they'll compromise on, maybe they'll make the scene a little more comfortable, or maybe they'll not make you actually kiss the guy or whatever. Like, you can never say, because when I had to do an intimate scene, the director helped me so much, because I was so uncomfortable, like, in Joseph. And I was like, I don't know if I can do this. And, like, he's married and he has kids and this and that. And I just had this weird, like, guilt and all of that. And the director was just a gem of a person. And he's like, if you're uncomfortable, I'll tell all these people to leave and I'll keep only the cameraman and the director and assistant director here. Okay, is that fine? And I was like, yeah, can you please do that? Because we were shooting in a public canal kind of an area. And he just chucked out like 100 people off set, and just to make me comfortable. And I will remember that moment like till the day I die. It was just so life changing, because when you get someone to support you in that fear and in that discomfort, and then it comes out well, and then the film does well, you're like, okay, even though I was weirded out about it, it turned out fine. So you people need to be honest and open, with how they feel, because you have a right to. And I feel like professionalism is all about that. Like, just, you have your standards, and it's good to have that standard and stick to those standards, or like make them even higher sometimes. But yeah,
Wow, I'm so impressed with your boldness and the kind of power you bring. I think that's it's so
thank you,
inspirational for so
thank
many
you.
girls who listen
It's
to
worth
this.
it.
So many
Yeah.
females, even in different industries and in different work fields. Because what you said is so powerful. And let me know if I can help in any way in
For
addressing the
sure.
psycho list of yours. I would love
Yeah,
to.
for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah, it'll be amazing. I need some cybercrime
Yeah.
agents. So if you have any contacts, yeah, I
Yes.
definitely need all the help I can get.
Wow. One question about one more question about acting, and then we'll go into something that you really do out of your heart as well, special
Yeah,
education. But the final question I have for you is: some people say, especially in India, that intimate scenes are not necessary. Kissing and all these
yeah,
things are
yeah,
not necessary in a script. No situation makes it necessary. For example, famous actors like Salman Khan. But at the other end, there are some people who say no, it is needed in roles, and sometimes you have to
yeah,
show certain emotions. What's your
yeah.
opinion? What's your take?
My take is that it's so how there are these stigma, like there's this stigma around different topics like homosexuality, or like racism, classism, things like that, where Indians just refuse to be open and honest about it. And because most of us do have these things just built up within us, right? um like these prejudices. Thank you. Quite a tongue twister. So I feel like, if a 25, okay, say a 20-year-old and a 23-year-old, or a 23-year-old and a 25-year-old are dating in real life, they are definitely going to be some level of physical, and 100% they would have kissed each other. And that's the reality of it. That's the reality of it. Maybe it's changed over time, and maybe people have become more physical over time, but it is the reality of it. And I feel like films will be relatable only when they're actually showing reality. So I'm not saying, oh, sleep with everybody while you're on set. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying that show people that this is the real thing, and and people will relate to it, right? If they know, oh my god, I was in this position, or like, oh my god, I knew someone who was in this position. There's so much more value in what they're watching because it's so relatable. Like the best comedians are the relatable ones, people who talk about general common happenings, so I feel like it's important to show it, but we don't need to overdo it, because that shouldn't become the most important part of the film, or that shouldn't become, oh, you should watch this film because of that. Like, it's definitely, it should be there, but it shouldn't be the crux of it, is what I think, because reality and relatability is so 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 important, like to the viewers. Yeah.
That's an awesome perspective. That's an awesome
Yeah.
perspective. Well, Madhuri, moving on with the
Yeah.
second kind of topic I want to touch upon.
Mhm.
You're a special educator. I mean, that's so unique. You're an actor. How does special education just come into play and in
Yeah.
your life?
So actually, acting came in way after special education, to be honest. So it was just always this passion of mine, and I used to volunteer with an NGO called UNI. You should check them out, whoever's listening. They have volunteers all over India in, I think, about 10 cities now, and they provide tuitions for underprivileged children, for slum kids, for orphan children, for different kinds of kids who need help, and they're doing some amazing work. So shout out to them. But I started with my special education because of them, and I'll forever be grateful. So I started volunteering with them, and I started taking care of these 85 mentally challenged boys in a government home who were kind of abandoned by their families, and not didn't have people to kind of take care of them. And I have 5 brothers. I don't know if I mentioned, but I have 5 brothers,
Wow.
and I've I've kind of grown up around boys of all ages, so, and their friends, and I've never had sisters. So doing this and volunteering in this home was just something that was so close to my heart, and was something that literally changed me forever. It made me feel like, what was I doing before this? Like, what was I even doing with my life before this? And it was just on Sundays, but I did it for about 5.5, 6 years, just on Sundays for
Wow.
3 years, for 3 hours, sorry, 3 hours on Sundays, once a week, where we'd go and we'd take care of these kids, a bunch of volunteers, and I would take care of the profoundly challenged kids who were like younger than mental age of 3, when their like physical age is like 16 to 18. And it really kind of shows you, the selfish motive would be that it makes you feel so blessed as a person, because you have all your senses and your organs and everything intact. But that's the selfish bit. But I'm talking about when it comes to the affection that they need, and how little they need from you to be happy, how little they really need for you to be happy, for them to be happy, is when you realize the kind of difference you can actually make in this world. Because our wants are so big and so fancy, and like, oh, I want only this kind of a person to marry, oh, I want only this kind of person to like be with, oh, this and that, and I want only this food and this clothes. But when you look at someone who's made from the same flesh and bones as you're like, hey, this just puts everything into perspective, because you're like, they literally need this much to make them happy. They just need a hug, they need some food, they need you to dance with them, and they're fine. And that's the simplicity of someone with special needs, like someone with someone who has something wrong with their brain or development or behavior. They are not focusing on stupid things that we are. They're focusing on just the basics, right? And that's where we've gone wrong as a humanity, as mankind. That's where we've gone wrong. Our basics are all just shoved under the carpet. Where while we move up, we forget about all our basics, like just love, care, concern, sharing, things like that. Like, you literally, in that home, there were mentally challenged boys who were of mental age like 8 or 9, helping mentally challenged boys who were like of mental ages 0 to 3, and helping them poop, helping them pee, helping them like do, cleaning them, feeding them, things like that. And both are on the spectrum, both are special needs, both are mentally challenged. And you're like, if they can do that, like, what am I doing with my life? Like, it just really puts things into perspective. I mean, I can go on about this, but so that's when I was like, okay, this, and I had a comfort. I had a comfort with these special needs children, like we children who have special needs. Like, I didn't feel uncomfortable, even if they like grope my boob, or like if they touch me inappropriately, or if they like he drooled on me or like peed on me or something, I would not have that discomfort. Maybe because I have four younger brothers, one older brother, like just being comfortable with changing diapers, things that I've already done before. But also, I've never been happier, like just that kind of fulfillment and that happiness that gave me, like it's unparalleled. Which is why when I started acting, I did not give that up. I was like, okay, the acting makes me happy too, but it's a different kind of happy, and I'm gonna use that money to fuel this, like because
Wow.
this is where like you feel like you're in this world for something more important than yourself. It's just, I don't know how to explain it, but yeah. So then that's when I was like, okay, let's do it professionally, because I was that comfortable. Like even when my family and friends came over, I would keep taking everyone, because I was like, listen, this is my heaven on earth. I need you to come and see these kids and like see who the most important people are in my life right now. So I would take people, and when they saw me comfortable with the kids, they'd be like, dude, you should do this. Or like, my parents would be like, you should do this. And I'll tell you about this small incident. You can take it out of the podcast if you want. But there was this one incident where my dad was leaving church. Okay, like he goes to a church close by to home, and he was leaving church, and he while he was coming out of church, he there was this guy uh, from, okay, I'll tell you from where later. But he there was this guy just talking to people who had just left the church outside the gate, and asking them, like doing this and asking for food or money, saying bhook lagi hai. He kept saying that, and my dad would usually just come out of the gate and walk home. But he came out and he saw this guy talking to a few other people, and then those people were like, when you just ignore vagabonds and you're just like,
Right, right.
we're talking, like, can you just, oh my god. And my dad went to him, and my dad's just such a he's just such a selfless person. He's amazing. Anyway, but he brought him home. Okay, he brought this guy home. He literally walked him home, and then he realized that there was something wrong with this guy, and he couldn't actually speak properly. Like he was just saying book book, but then he was not able to construct sentences properly. Then my dad was like, okay, but if he's saying book, he knows a little bit of Hindi. Wonder where he's from and this and that. And he was very unkempt and very kind of just not, he looked like he hadn't changed his clothes for weeks. Okay, and my dad said, okay, book lagi hai, okay, theek hai. And he brought him home, and my dad just came upstairs telling him, stay here, I'll go get my wallet and come, just stay here. Okay, like he made him stay like right next to the door, went to get the wallet and come, and he came outside and the guy was gone. He didn't know where he went. So then my dad went downstairs, and he was like looking out around in the streets, like where's he, where's he, where's he? And then he finally found him like near some car, trying to find food. Like this guy was searching for food somewhere, and it was really sad. So my dad took him to like one of these sagas, these suk sagas or something, and fed him. I mean, gave him dosa, but he didn't know how to eat. Naren, he didn't know how to eat. The plate was here, and he's just looking at it, and he's starving, and he's like putting his head forward, and he didn't know how to eat. So my dad's like, okay, and my dad fed him the whole thing, and just heartbreaking story. And my dad brought him back home after eating, so he was still hungry after one dosa. I think he hadn't eaten for weeks. So my dad gave him another dosa, and then he's like, ha, abhi theek hai, something he said like in some half broken Hindi. And my dad brought him back home and said, okay, this was way before I woke up in the morning, because my dad goes to the church early in the morning. And I was so thankful that he went to church that day. Anyway, so he woke me up, and he's like, Mark, I think this boy has some kind of special needs, and he has some kind of he's definitely mentally challenged, because he can't speak about your professional at it. I mean, I hadn't started my masters then, but I was doing this voluntary thing, like on Sundays. And he's like, and my dad had been to the home, so my dad was like, okay, can you? He's very similar to the boys in your home, so can you just like see what he wants? I don't know what to do. Like I don't know how to talk to him. And then I just took him into the living room. I took him, he needed to pee. I took him to the bathroom, finished all that, made him sit down. He was very like, he was very distressed and very restless. So I did some art therapy, put on some music for him, and I just made him kind of calm down. And then he slept a bit on the carpet. And he was like 24 years old, not a small guy. And my dad just sat and watched. He didn't go to work that day, just sat and watched. And that's when he realized, and I thank God of whoever, like the universe, that my dad could see that, because I had to shift from architecture to special ed at one point of time, right? This was about a year after this incident, or half a year after this incident. And my dad saw me doing all of this and kind of really being comfortable with him, and just dealing with him in such a way that I knew what to do.
Taking
So
care of him,
then
yeah.
yeah, and my dad was like, okay, now I understand that. Cause so then that conversation happened 6 months later, where I was like, I really want to do a master's, and I found this course where it's a distance learning course, and I can do acting and other things as well. But can I please do this course? And I don't want to do architecture anymore. Like, I've never felt this kind of fulfillment when I work in an architectural firm. And my dad's like, are you sure? You've done 5 years of architecture and everything. And then he was like, yeah, actually, I remember that incident where you looked after that boy, and like, I feel like you are cut out for this. And that's when, so there was almost like a reason for why that incident happened. And finally we put him in a rehabilitation home, just to complete the story, in case you're like, does he live with you now? No, my dad, we sent him to a rehabilitation center like in the outskirts of Bangalore, but he's doing well. And what had happened was, we found out later that he was from Hyderabad, and he got beaten up really badly at home, and it threw him out of his house. And when he got beaten up was when his brain damage happened. And so he knew a lot of things, but at the same time he couldn't say them and couldn't remember them, because he had gotten really badly his
Injured.
brain damage. Yeah. And he had got onto a train and just randomly reached Bangalore out of nowhere. Like, he just reached Bangalore, and he was just roaming the streets of Bangalore for a while, and people were just ignoring him. So I can't even imagine how long he was hungry for. But thank God for my dad in that situation, and thank God this happened. And he's doing really, really well right now. And I think he's doing some work, vocational training and stuff in this home. And I don't know. So we sent him to this home where they sometimes reunite their families with the people and things like that. So I don't know if he wants to be reunited with them, but yeah, we've left it to them. So that's what happened. And that incident really helped my dad understand why I wanted to do this master's. And finally I did it, and it was a 2.5 year course. And yeah, so I did my special education because of this NGO, this incident. And just like, when I was young, I had this magnetic attraction towards anyone who was not normal, like, who was maybe that's why I've dated some really weird people. No, I'm kidding. If any experts are listening, I'm sorry, guys. No, but yeah, jokes aside, it's been something that I'm, yeah, gonna take with me to the grave, and I'm gonna do it
Wow.
for however long I have my senses and organs for, because it's just,
Wow.
there are not enough special educators. So many people who are therapists and like counselors and stuff are not actually, or people who are dealing with special needs, they're not actually, haven't studied it. They've studied psychiatry or psychology, or they're voluntarily doing it because it's. So I was like, okay, we need people who study these disorders, and like, who know
Correct. Know
what
how to
exactly.
address it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So that's when I decided to do it. And yeah, that after that I started doing it professionally, and now I take music therapy classes. So it's awesome. Yeah.
That's a beautiful, beautiful story, and what a story! Like, and it brings forth how you really discovered this thing that's deep in your heart. I want to touch
Yeah.
upon a couple things you said. You talked about how you did art therapy to
Yeah.
the gentleman who was there and who you guys
Yeah.
helped. Your father helped,
Yeah.
and you just now mentioned music therapy. So
Yeah.
tell me about. And I know you're a very talented musician. I mean, I've heard your
Thank
singing and
you.
your videos.
I haven't sung professionally in a long time. Rajat's taken over. My brother. Yeah.
But like, so how do you combine music therapy with special education? How does that play together?
Yeah. So basically, I did my dissertation on the influence of music on social and emotional behavior. That was the topic of my dissertation.
Wow.
So, because I'll tell you why. I've been a musician for longer than I've been anything else. I've also been just a generally confused human being who does too many things. But when I, so like, while I was a musician, and like, I mean, I've been rather, and I still am, I've noticed that music can elevate a mood. It can really make you cry. It can, like, if you're going through a bad time and you listen to a sad song, you'll just be like in a pool full of your tears. And
Yeah.
it can also just uplift you, make you dance and just move. And like, when you're working out or if you're running, you're listening to some music, just get motivated. Beats, rhythm, like, your body just has this rhythm within it. Like, when you walk, if there's a beat or something in the background, you'll start walking to that rhythm. It's just a bodily rhythm that we have, and each person
Wow.
has it. Dancers have it even stronger than others. Like, I'm not a very good dancer myself, but I've gone for a few classes here and there just to
Yeah.
save my soul. But it is something that I've noticed, which can actually transform people. Music, like, without music, we'd be in a dead world, like literally a dead world, right? So like, just think about it. Like, when you're celebrating, you play music. When there's a funeral, there's music. When you're praying, they sing it. When you're getting married, there's music. Like any big thing will have music, and it's just
Wow.
something that is so. It's from the time you're born. Like when you're in the womb, your auditory senses develop very early on, so you can hear, like you can
Right.
hear things that are happening outside the womb. You can hear beats, you can hear, so I mean, this is all after doing research because of my dissertation. But that's when I was like, okay, let's use music, because this is something that I love. So how do I bring together something I love to help somebody else? And I brought music therapy into after my dissertation, and it's done wonders. Like I've had parents come to me in tears and been like, you know, my son or my daughter has not responded in like 1.5 years, and after your class, he's just jumping all over the place and he's happy and he's this and that. And that's when you realize that if this can change one person, it can definitely change more people. So then I started doing group classes where I used to do drama, expression, and musical theater with special needs children. So even kids who have like cerebral palsy and they're like on a wheelchair, right, and they can't really move. But the thing is, I'm a very animated person, as you can see while I'm talking. So it helps with music and expression and stuff like that. It's all kind of intertwined. At least my life is connected in some way. Like the acting and the expressions and everything also like kind of come into play when I'm talking to
Correct.
a
Correct.
child, and I'm storytelling, and I'm like, and my eyes are like in their face, making them like alive. So it music therapy, it can be used like even with people who have dementia, Alzheimer's, memory issues. You can find out what music they liked from when they were kids, to bring back certain memory, neurons, nerves that are connecting certain childhood memories, just to improve on their memory. Things like that. It's just never ending. Like things like even rhythm, right? You can teach math through music. How did we learn the alphabet? Through music,
Ha.
right? Through
Ha.
the most basic things, like Old MacDonald had a farm, and then you learn like what does the cow say, what does the dog say. Like you learn these things through music. They don't teach us like on a board. Cow says moo. Like you're gonna learn it through a song. And most of the things we've learned as kids is through music. So it just goes to show that like music can, yeah, it can
You
just
just blew my mind with that, by the way. Yeah.
yay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's yeah, I feel like only I'm talking in this whole thing. Blow my mind also with something. Come on.
I no. You're doing too good of a job. I don't want to spoil it with my insights.
No, but
Um,
yeah, podcast, we're supposed to be having an equal
yeah.
conversation, not just me talking. But yeah, no,
uh,
so that's what I do with music therapy. I try and find ways to teach them. Like right now, I have a student who's not even here. I do a Zoom call. She's in another country, and she has anxiety and depression, and we're just using music to help her feel better. And we're doing songs together, and we're like, she's writing music. It's almost like a vent for expression and dealing with your feelings. And it's awesome. It's awesome. Music can really, and a lot of people feel, oh, I don't know enough to do this, I don't know enough to teach this. But you learn on the job. Honestly, you learn on the job. Like, and you keep doing it, and you keep learning. And yeah, the more you learn, the better you can teach. And yeah, I guess
wow.
that's how it is. Yeah.
Madhuri, I have a question for you now.
Uh-huh.
It seems like you do so many things,
Mm-hmm.
and from our interactions, from the posts I see, you keep yourself really up. I would say you're a really optimistic, positive, high energy person,
Mm-hmm.
somebody who knows how to make fun of criticism, and you're kind of famous for that, right? Your funny tweets and be bold.
Yeah.
How? What's your secret? What's the secret behind this positive, good, high flowing energy, balancing so many things? What makes it tick for you? What do you do that really
Yeah.
thrives you? Is it your
Yeah.
spiritual
Yeah.
leaning? Do you pray? What's that secret? Tell us.
Yeah. So let's just say that I do. Let's start off by saying that I do have my bad days. I do have my low days. I'm an extremely emotional person. I ask a lot of questions. Okay. Now, having said that, um, I try and keep my social media more positive than negative, because there's enough of negative bullshit out there. Like
Oh,
there's
so true.
enough. Like everywhere I go, oh, somebody committed suicide. It's Sushant Singh Rajput, and I'm just like, every day, like there's just racism. Oh, Black Lives Matter. This the previous day is Corona. Previous day is CA, NRC. It's just like it's been a shit show this 2020. But I've noticed that the more like you said, where your energy flows, right? So I Okay, so I try and keep everything positive as much as possible, and I try not to focus on the negative. I do read negative things, and if it's something that's really important, like the Black Lives Matter campaign, I did share it, and I had to share some graphic videos and things like that. But I also keep in mind that there's a whole range of ages that follow me, and I have a social responsibility to kind of not mess up someone's head, if they're young or if they're old. And at the same time, there's this other part of my mind which says, okay, so if people constantly see that you're doing such good things or you're doing fun things and they're not, that also may make them feel like, oh, maybe my life's not as cool or this and that. So I try and keep it real more than optimistic and positive. I try and keep it real, keep it like, yeah, I had a shitty day today, but let's play a game, or let's yeah, everyone's fighting their own battles. Everyone's going through a shitty time, especially this year. And lockdown, I've had some major fights with my brothers like during this lockdown period where you it gets to you, right? I'm so used to going out shooting, teaching, doing this and that, and like I just have to be at home and like with family. I'm blessed to have a huge family, but it's still you it gets to you. But the one thing that helps me just stay positive and stay up with my energy is number one, meditation. Like I just shut off my mind, my mouth. I wish I could shut my nose out, but ears also sometimes I'll put earplugs. But I just keep quiet for like 15 minutes in the day, and I'm just
Wow.
like breathe, be thankful, be grateful. Like gratefulness is this huge driving force for me, man. Yes, right? Like high five.
Okay.
It's this huge, like it's just this thing where everything that you have is a gift. Everything you have, whether it's a talent, whether it's something you wear, whether it's like anything, right? It's a gift. It's literally a gift. You're lucky to be where you are. And sometimes people kept complaining, no, but I want to be in New York. I mean, like people are dying right now in New York, so please be happy that you're not there. So there's always a reason. There's always a silver lining every cloud. So gratefulness, meditation, and the third thing which has transformed my life is working out and fitness. It's the endorphins are real, man. It's freaking real. Okay, like I can have a terrible day, but just go get some sun, do a run, even if it's on the terrace, do some exercises, sweat it out, and I can feel better. Just there are times when I do get really depressed. I can't get out of bed. I'm like, why do I feel like this? Usually it's like before that time of the month where I'm like, oh, so that's why I was feeling like that day before yesterday. But I've learned to deal with it, and I've learned to accept the bad days and be like, it's fine. Like without the lows, you can't feel the highs, and without the bad, you can't feel the good, I guess. But gratefulness, meditation, working out, transformational,
Wow.
transformational. Yeah.
Wow.
And gratefulness is something, honestly, like recently I've been posting a lot of like hashtag gratefulness or hashtag gratitude, and I've got like people from all over the world get in touch with me. Like just someone from Australia, someone from New Zealand, just texting me saying, "Hey, I saw your post about gratefulness. I mean, yeah, about gratitude, and I just wanted to know if everything's all right and if you're cool and if you're happy and how are you during this COVID time." And it's just so nice. Social media can do that. It can connect grateful people to other grateful people, like which is what we need. And I feel like we should really use the things that are close to us to kind of like gratefulness has always been something that I feel like I am where I am, even if I'm not such a big actor and everything. Like I still love every single moment of my acting career. I still love everything that I do, with teaching and singing and all of that. I feel like it's gratitude that's kind of brought me where I am. I was really religious at one point of time. I'm not that like religious right now. I'm still like on this journey where my parents are really religious, and I've been brought up in a Catholic household, and uh, I'm on my journey where reading a lot about different things and yeah, how religion is man-made and this and that. It makes you it puts you on this other. I mean, with
Correct.
all due respect to everyone who's religious, and it's honestly like a way to deal with life. Everybody has different
Yeah.
ways to deal
Yeah.
with life. So and have
You're
that
on a journey of self-discovery and self-evolution when it comes to that aspect.
exactly, yeah. So that's what helps me keep keep my
That's
spirits
powerful.
up.
Meditation, the magic pill of gratitude, that's what I call it,
Yeah,
and working out, endorphins.
yeah,
That's really
yeah,
cool.
yeah.
Madhuri, one final question. One
Uh-huh.
final question for our
Hmm.
today's conversation. It's been amazing.
It has.
if someone asks me to describe you in two
Uh-huh.
words, I would say honest and humble, like both H's. And
Right.
here's the reason why. Like even through this conversation, you're an actor, but you've been so honest about everything, like the details that you share, your Instagram. You're so honest about everything, even in public. That's very bold, I would say, and
Yeah,
humble. The humble
very.
being, when even when I asked you for this podcast, I mean, you're somebody who's a celebrity, who has so many things going on, but you were still so chill to contact and get you on board to do the podcast, or even whenever I get to speak to you, and the way you manage your social media and profile. How does that work? What keeps you humble? Is it the upbringing that you've had? Because I would actually say, this is not to flatter you, but I would say that's very rare. That's rare for somebody who's gained so much success at the age you have, like 29. How does that work? And please don't be humble about it. Please let us know. How does that work? How does honesty and humbleness
um,
go
okay.
together?
So there's a lot to say here, but I think the one most important thing I'd want to touch upon is the fact that learning can't happen if you're not humble. And I am someone who's, like I said right in the beginning of this podcast, that I ask a lot of questions and I want to know, all my doubts. Like I want to clear them. But more than that, like I want to learn and I want to become better and I want to literally leave something behind when I'm gone. And my films will be there even after I'm gone. But I'm saying even otherwise, just the people who I interact with, I just want to be able to touch their lives and kind of not because, oh, like I will get the, but just because like you have that chance and you have that opportunity to make a great moment, right? To make a memorable moment with that person. Like for example, how that incident happened with my dad. If he didn't stop and take that kid, bring that kid home, this beautiful story wouldn't even exist right now. So I'm saying when you have an opportunity, whether it's to learn or whether it's to interact, if you're not humble, you're not going to use that opportunity to its fullest. Like that's the simplest way to express it. But okay, another way I could say it is that, like, if you're not humble, you're not gonna take these learning lessons and actually implement them in your life, because you're gonna think, okay, I'm already cool and I'm already amazing, like I don't need these lessons, like I already know everything, right? So that's the end of learning, that's the end of progress, that's the end of success. Like it's literally the end of the road. So I feel like another thing is, everyone, like I said, is made from the same flesh and bones, like, and that's what acting taught me. Like when people started like being in awe of you, or started, when people like message you saying I love you, and I just want one chance to meet you, I just want one picture, can you just send a happy birthday for my best friend, like and then you realize, like, I've been the exact same person before films and after films. I've been the exact same person. So why the pride? Why? What has changed? Like nothing has changed. Like I had what I had. I had the same family, the same friends, the same color, the same like body, the same skin, the same brain. So just because I've become an actor, it doesn't mean that I've become anything cooler than what I was. Like I'm still the exact same person. It's just that more people have seen me now on screen. So you know what I mean? Like I don't know. It's a lot of thinking. It's a lot of, and yeah, it's funny. It's weird to try and keep myself grounded, but it's literally taught me everything that I know. Because the minute you're open and you're like, yeah, time to grow, and you grow from a seed, like the smallest thing that exists, right? Like you're literally, and when you look at the number of people in this world, you're literally a speck. You're literally a speck in the freaking ocean, like in the world. Like so why be proud? Like you're as valuable as anybody else, right? Like it's just that's the only way that I can, yeah. Maybe I should be more succinct and like try and explain it better, but it's just I feel like everyone's made from the same flesh and bones, and what you have or what you've inherited or what just because more people are viewing your work or shouldn't really change who you are. Like and I think from the this is something that I learned in Sri Lanka. I can just share this lesson with you. But in India, we have so many different languages, right? And they sometimes say, oh, only one class of people, the local class of people, do not speak English. All this rubbish, right? In Sri Lanka, everyone speaks Sinhalese, and that's the case in most countries, right? From say like a vagabond on the road to like a multi-millionaire. will speak the same language. And that's brought them so much closer as a community and as a people and a culture. It's made them so much more humane. Like I was there for a year, like 6 months as an architect intern, and 6 months as a special educator, and I loved Sri Lanka. But it just makes you think, okay, India has kind of segregated us unnecessarily and just given us all these weird prejudices and biases which are actually not there. They're not supposed to exist. Like, I don't know, I think language is something that has taught me a lot about community, and just how we're all the same in a way, like, and how we all should be the same. So this is something that I definitely learned in Sri Lanka. Like, I would just, yeah, and from the time I've been young, I've always spoken to everybody the same way. Even in school, people be like, yeah, you talk to everyone the same way. Like, how do we know who's close to you and who's not close to you? I'm like, I'm just saying what I want to say, like, and I'm just being honest. Like, even like my best friend right now, India, like I met her through a random conversation which we had in architecture college, like in the first semester of architecture college, where she just felt like I was approachable and she just came and spoke to me. And that's all it takes to build beautiful relationships. And we cracked some jokes and we just spoke, and she is the most approachable human being on the planet. I'm surprised I didn't go talk to her first, but that's how we became best friends, because when you talk to everyone the same way, treat everyone the same way, uh, I think it's beautiful, and I think that's how everyone should be, honestly. It's tough for someone who's doing, like, say, for Priyanka Chopra or someone, or for like Deepika Padukone, but I hope I never change. If I ever become half as big as them, I hope I never change. Yeah, and I really will keep trying. It's challenging though.
I think it's really amazing how self-aware you are about all these things, and I see you operate with that.
Thanks.
So that's amazing, Madhuri. It's been nothing but a treat to be interacting with you
Yeah, it's
for
been
the past
awesome.
hour or so.
I wish
Thank
we
you
spoke
very
with you.
much.
I'm going to make a podcast and I'm going to make you come on my show and I'm going to make only you talk, okay? Just you wait.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah.
Madhuri, thank you so much for being on the show. I
Thanks.
wish you
Thank you so much,
nothing but
Naren.
success and happiness. I think your voice deserves to be even louder with all the cool things that you have to say. But before I let you go,
Thanks.
I have a question for you. And the question is,
Uh-huh.
do you have any questions for me?
Oh my gosh. I do, in fact. So, how did you start this podcast and why?
So, the biggest reason I started this podcast, Madhuri, is I wanted to get people's perspectives on life. I feel there's something called life and we all live in it. There's something called this world, we all live in it. But everybody has their own colored dark glasses. And these colors
Mm,
are not just the seven colors, but very, very, very
same.
multi-dimensional colors.
Hmm.
And one of the most beautiful things for me is to interact with people and get to see the world from their colors, from their perspective and their
Mm,
eyes. And so I decided, you
yeah,
know
it's
what, I
fun.
want to have a podcast where I invite people and get to learn about life and the world through their eyes and their lenses. And that was the biggest reason why I started this podcast. And that's the biggest reason I'm
Wow.
doing this.
Wow. Okay. Just to, yeah, to get a glimpse of what other people's notions and opinions and like culture is. Yeah, I guess that's awesome. That's
Absolutely.
something like travel almost. Like you're traveling into somebody else's mind. Like
Yes.
like you go into another country and see the culture and see. Yeah, it's
Mind
pretty cool.
travel.
It's
So
awesome.
like I would be doing the same thing even if this was not recorded. I would still, like, if I happen to have a chance to talk to you, I would be asking the same questions. I'd be doing the same
Yeah.
thing,
Awesome.
and that's
Awesome.
that's just something I would
So
love.
now,
Yeah,
now you're just putting it out there for other people as well. Like, yeah, that's
exactly.
awesome. Just sharing it for everyone else. That's awesome. And yeah, I hope your podcast does really well. I'll promote the shit out of it. Not only because I'm on it, but I really wish you good luck for your podcast and for everything else you do. Even you're like doing some multi-million things. So yeah, good luck, and that's awesome that you're doing this, and I hope you get some really cool people to talk to you.
What a treat! It's been amazing to have you, Miss
Yeah.
Madhuri Braganza, on the show. Thank you very
Thank you,
much.
Naren, on the
I
Naren Agarwal show.